All right, guys, this is chapter 31, the last chapter, confronting global and national dilemmas. So 1989 to present-ish, probably more like 2010. But that's okay. We'll get you there. All right. So let's just look at Europe. So your current event was that we had Brexit. My current event during this time period was that the European Union was forming. So the European Union really came into what we knew it as in 1992. Over 20 countries were part of that. There was, by 2002, a single currency for all of that. During this time, China, between 2000 and 2008, quadrupled its domestic product and became one of the mass producers of goods that everybody was trading with, which obviously this negatively impacts manufacturing even more in the US than already we had been experiencing in the 80s. All right, so we're going to have the International Organization and Corporations. Basically, the idea is it once was the G7, but then we decided to let Russia play, so now it's the G8. And these guys all just come together to talk about economic policy and how to make sure we don't have something like the Great Depression again, which kind of helped us in 2008 because we kind of got out of that problem. And we didn't bring Europe down with us. All right. In 1993, US, Canada, and Mexico are going to sign the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement. This is creating a free trade zone, which means that there is no cost to trading with Canada and Mexico with the US. So this is good and bad. We did lose some jobs to what's called outsourcing because they moved down to Mexico. But we were already outsourced quite significantly by the time this trade agreement came in 1993. We just, perfected it after this. So financial deregulation is still a thing. Remember, deregulation was happening under Carter, and then Reagan really went crazy with it. And then we're going to do even more deregulation here, which is going to lead to the big 2008 economic meltdown on these issues because investors were looking for kind of a low risk, high return investments. The housing market was doing great. So mortgage companies were bundling all of these mortgages together and selling them as a bundled good that you could invest in. These were getting purchased. Prices, again, for houses were doing awesome until all of a sudden, in order to keep these investors happy and giving them lots of opportunity to buy these bundled mortgages, we started giving mortgages to anybody with a pulse, which meant that you probably couldn't actually afford it, which meant once you lose your house, then all of a sudden the supply of houses is going to be super big on the market, which means that we're going to have more supply than demand, which means the prices of houses are going to go down, which means all of these people lose money, and mortgage companies are going to go out of business. All right. Remember technology? Right? We are digitizing everything, right? We now have personal computers and smartphones and cell phones. And now, like we're doing right now, working from home and doing all of these things, but we're also connected, right? Globally. You can have a Zoom meeting with somebody over in India, and it's super easy and seamless. So email started slow, worldwide started slow, but by 2011, everybody has it, everybody uses it, everybody's making money off of it. Okay, then we're going to get some new immigrants and some different shifts in immigration. And a lot of our attitudes are also going to change. So immigrants are accounting for approximately 28 million to 25 million coming from Southeast Asia. Okay, so we're getting more immigrants from that area of the world. Our population is going to grow. And we're now going to officially coin the term illegal aliens, and we're going to make it a political platform. So illegal aliens is everywhere. We want to, of course, stop the invasion from Mexico. A lot of this leads to, right, us looking poorly on immigrants, us not liking people who are of Mexican descent, thinking that they were here illegally. And then a lot of people push to make English the language of the country, but it never passes. It doesn't actually grab hold. So something to think about. All right. So then we're going to have this thing called family values. So family values is all about anti-abortion. Family values is all about anti-gay rights. Family values is all about limiting the power of the government. and defining marriage. So that's kind of the big thing that's going on with family values during this time period. And a lot of these culture wars are going to get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to have some say on things. So basically, there's going to be one case, Webster v. Reproductive Health Services, and it's going to allow state governments to limit funding for abortion, which had not been allowed before. Then we're going to have Planned Parenthood versus Casey, and this is going to uphold the law requiring a 24-hour waiting period prior to an abortion, but it is going to strike down the law about a wife having to notify a husband and get signed consent to get an abortion. So lots of controversy, lots of things going on during this time period. Okay, so Clinton is going to win. Okay. He is kind of going to take a middle of the road stance. He's going to actually lean a little conservative on some things because he does need to work with Congress in order to get things passed. By 1998, we're going to balance the budget under Clinton. So that was neat. We all got checks. That was fun. And we will probably never get there again. And then we're going to have a huge resurgence in Republican again. So midterm elections, Democrats are going to lose. More Republicans are going to come in. Clinton's going to move to her right to avoid kind of having a deadlock situation with Congress and the White House. And in 1996, he's going to abolish the aid to families with dependent children, which is a social welfare program. He's not going to expand things. He's going to start kind of cutting things, actually. So his second term, though, is going to kind of unravel a little bit. He will be the second president to be impeached due to lying under oath. He lied regarding a intimate relationship with an intern, Monica Lewinsky. But oddly, he actually gains in popularity in the polls, and he is found not guilty by the Senate. So he's charged by the House, not guilty by the Senate. So we now in history have had 3 presidents impeached, found not guilty by the Senate. Clinton is number 2. And so what does happen, though, is that our eyes are taken away from what's going on foreign policy-wise because we're all wrapped up in the impeachment process. So Yugoslavia is going to dissolve, which is going to lead to a genocide situation of ethnic cleansing by Milosevic, who is a Serbian nationalist over there. We're not going to get involved. Then in the Middle East, there's going to be a huge insurgence of radical Islam movements, and we're not really going to get involved. And then the radical Muslims are going to begin bombing countries that they feel do not represent what they think people should represent. So they're anti-British, they're anti-French, they're anti-consumerism, they're anti all of that. So they're going to come after Britain, France, and the US. In 93, we are going to get a World Trade Center bombing. It's going to be a truck bomb. 6 people are going to be killed. 1,000 more are injured. And then we're going to actually bomb the naval ship USS Cole in Yemen in 2000. And then Clinton is going to order airstrikes against Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, except Al-Qaeda is going to come back and get us. Then we're going to have the 2000 election, if you notice. Okay, this is Baby Bush against Al Gore. And if you look at the electoral votes, okay, it's 271 for Baby Bush, 266 for Gore. And then if you look at the popular vote, we have Gore at 50,992,000, and with Baby Bush at 50,455,000. So begins the controversy with the Electoral College, really. So Baby Bush is going to come in. He's going to cut a bunch of taxes, which is, again, going to lead to a bunch of economic problems. And we're going to have an increase in debt. So shortly after taking office, we are going to have 9/11 happen. So 19 Islamic terrorists are going to hijack 4 commercial jets. 2 will be flown into the World Trade Center in New York, 1 into the Pentagon, and 1 is going to crash in Pennsylvania Field on its way to the White House. Bush is going to declare a war on terror, and there's going to be a military campaign against bin Laden's forces in Afghanistan. We're also going to invade Iraq, and that's usually where things get controversial because some people today wonder why we invaded Iraq. We did invade Iraq because we thought they had mass weapons there. So that's why we were going in there. Baby Bush is going to call a group of countries, Iran, North Korea, and Iraq, the axis of evils. So we are going to be very foreign policy heavy during his presidency for obvious reasons. And then obviously the issue of Shiites versus Sunnis is going to come to a head with Saddam Hussein in Iraq when he falls and is removed from power. Then we're going to have the 2004 election. This is going to be John Kerry versus Baby Bush. John Kerry loses. So then we're going to have Hurricane Katrina in 2005. This is a huge problem. The war in Iraq is going to become increasingly unpopular because eventually we're all like, well, we never found mass weapons, so what are we really doing there? We still stand behind Afghanistan, obviously, but Iraq people are starting to question some things. We're going to start losing faith in the economy because things are going down. Housing prices are plummeting. 2008 election happens and we elect Obama. Okay, he ran against Senator John McCain. And Obama's going to come into office and he's going to issue the Economic Stabilization Act, which puts $700 billion in the attempts to rescue banks and brokerage houses. Because remember from last chapter, we talked about how the 2000 economic collapse was all about investors buying bundled mortgages. In order to keep investors happy, more mortgages are being offered out there and bundled, which means people who can't actually afford houses are getting houses, which means once they lose their house because they can't pay that mortgage, then we have more houses on the market than we have a demand for, which means housing prices go down, which means everybody's going to be taking a hit. So that's why we have the Economic Stabilization Act. All right, so Obama is going to kind of downplay his election as the first black president and just kind of move on with life. He's going to do kind of an FDR first 100 days. So his goal is to really have an economic stimulus package, reform some stuff out on Wall Street, and begin regulating what had been deregulated, which was causing some of these problems. By 2010 midterm, people aren't totally happy with this, so Republicans get control of the House. In 2011, Obama repeals Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which means hey, if you're gay, you can just openly serve in the military now. And then in 2009, Obama does appoint the first Latina to serve on the Supreme Court, Sonia Sotomayor. And then in 2010, he appoints Elena Kagan to the court, so 2 women. He's going to draw down troops in Iraq, not as much as people wanted, but a little bit. He is going to have a surge in Afghanistan because a bunch of stuff is going to be going on over there. So we're going to put more troops over there. In late 2010, there's something called the Arab Spring, which is going to topple a series of autocratic rulers in the Middle East. So we have renewed hope in the Middle East during this time that they could turn democratic. They don't, but we had hope. 2011, we do find Osama bin Laden. We send in the Navy SEALs, and he is killed. Obama also uses drone strikes to assassinate al-Qaeda leaders. This is controversial, but it's really something used regularly. And then climate change is going to become everywhere. We're going to turn it political. So now there's a Republican and a Democrat view of it. And then we're going to have shifts in the electoral. So Obama appears to benefit from this electoral shift in the liberal direction. But then 2016 is going to show us differently. All right, so 2016, right, we're going to have Trump win with 304 electoral votes, Clinton with 227 electoral votes. So Trump will become the next president. And then we're going to have the 2020 election, whereby we flip again, and we go 306 to Biden with 232 to Trump. So that pretty much gets us about as current as I can get you. Update your big ideas, get the stuff in your notebooks, and until next time.